Oh well, thank you for having me, Art House Anime. Trying to get the syllables out there. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, actually, just real quick, I do want to say something. Just a tiny little bit of a correction. So yeah, I do use Bandit Haze. BH Uncivilized is really more my poetry name. So for those who are spoken word artist fans, I am still BH Uncivilized, but that's more the poetry side. So I haven't abandoned it. Just for just using different names in different areas. But yes, Bandit Haze for now, at least. So my history with Zelda. So the first Zelda game I played was the Ocarina of Time, the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, way back in I think 98, 99, around when it came out, at least anyway, late 90s. And I mean I remember, well, I vaguely remember the old Zelda games, right, from when it was originally released back in the 80s, but I didn't play it then. I didn't really well, we didn't really have a whole lot of money, so we didn't play a whole lot of different games, and that was unfortunately one of the games that got missed during my my much younger years. So it's kind of, I have vague memories of it, but Zelda Ocarina of Time was the first time I played it. So although I sort of knew about it, I didn't really know much about it, like what the game was about, what the story was. I didn't really know anything like that. So yeah, I played the Ocarina of Time. Just remember seeing it advertised on television, and it was just the most absolute unpolitically correct advert you could have that you absolutely will not get away with in this day and age. But it appeals to me at the time, and I think it was my older brother actually bought the game, and it was like £50 at the time, because games are still expensive now, but £50 for a cartridge was yeah, it was a lot of money back then. Well, still a lot of money now, to be fair. But yeah, so I was him that bought the game, but I played. I remember putting it in, and my first thoughts were just like, what is this? Because on the advert it looked like this very action packed get a 3D action game, and it kind of is. To be fair, it's not un action y. But it was a little bit slower than I was anticipating. So when I remember my first few thoughts was something like, what is this? Because you're literally just standing in a room and nothing's happening. But then as you play the game and it unfolds the story, and you realize it's all part of this sprawling epic adventure that is just awesome and amazing, and it just absolutely blew my mind. Just absolutely, just from beginning to end, it was just fantastic, and just a really, really awesome game. I don't know what they showed in America, but I remember the one they showed in the UK was it had a bunch of clips from the game and some kind of orchestral music, and then towards the end of the advert, it's the un-PC but I was talking about, when it's towards the end of the advert, it says, "Will you save the girl, or will you play like one?" and, so yeah, it was that. I don't know if they showed that one in America, but that's what they had it advertised in the UK as, and yeah, I don't think you get away with that these days. Okay, what's the okay, yes, that's what you mean. I know what you mean. Right, yeah. Um, well, yeah, it's a spoiler. Well, yeah, it's a spoiler if you haven't played the game. But I don't know. It's been like nearly 20 years now. I think it might be okay to say it. might might be okay, but I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because yes, that's right. You have the Gyarados, the thieves, um, and yeah, the lady that you're talking about. Well, okay, so I guess if you're not going to spoil it, I won't spoil it. So, but yeah. um, All right. Well, anybody who doesn't want to know, close your ears for about 10 seconds. But I'm sure if you, I'm sure you even know or you don't care about this point. But yeah, Sheik is as a present when she's a presenters to you. When you find out about, you think it's a guy, but you later on find out it's a girl. It's actually Zelda, dressed in Mel's clothing. So yeah, it was a little bit, as you said, ironic. Yeah, yeah. Um, it was, yes. I mean, the 3D at the time, I believe, was pretty new. I mean, I don't know if Zelda was the first game to employ it in that way, but it's certainly amongst the first, if not the first games that I played that had that kind of 3D area with the Z targeting and so on. So for me, yeah, absolutely, it was just a mind blowing experience just in how you played the game and just how the story unfolded. I have since played some of the older Zelda games. I've kind of gone back in time a little bit and played some of the older ones, and pardon. Um, not quite. Um, I've lost the point. What was I saying? Yeah, I was trying to think of a witty joke, but it just went. That's all right. But yeah, no, I kind of went back and bought some of the old ones on. I think they were on like Game Boy or something where they did like the old, not Game Boy, just like 3DS. I think not 3DS, DS rather. It was on DS. Yeah, the new. Well, they said when they announced the DS, they were like, no, it's going to be like the third one, the third arc, because they're going to have the Game Boy, then the DS, and the home console, which was the GameCube and then the Wii. But in the end, Game Boy just died out, and then they just carried on with the DS and now 3DS. So yeah, it's pretty much a Game Boy, really. Um, well, yeah, really. I mean, there's just different name, isn't it? Uh, Oh, do you mean the quality of it? Yeah, right, right. Yes, yes. No, the old one, yeah, ages. Yeah, went for a while. But yeah, I did since play the old Zelda games on the DS, and they were okay. It was okay. I believe it was the first one I was playing, and it seemed alright. I didn't actually complete it in the end. It did kind of bore me after a while. Not quite the Zelda experience. Maybe if I played it back in the 80s, I would have appreciated it a bit more. But I think after Ocarina of Time and after other games we played, it was a bit difficult to get back into the old Zelda, 1985 game, playing it in what 2000 and something. So yeah, it was a little bit difficult to get into, but it seemed okay. I mean, it certainly wasn't a rubbish game. It just didn't really hold my attention very long. So what do you mean? Okay, right, right, right. Yes. So yeah, yeah. So you got all the smaller Zelda games that you have, right? The like, what do you call it? The that one they did for the Wii with the gun and not the with the they had the light gun, not even a light gun, but you got the little yeah, you had the Wiimote. You put it in this holder that looks like a gun, makes it look like a gun, and then the Zelda game was that you shoot arrows or crossbow rather at these enemies. It was actually a pretty decent game. It came with the whole gun holster thing. I don't know what you call it, but it came with it. It was like 20 quid or something like that. It was pretty cheap. It was more of a demo than a game, but it just kind of showed what the Wii could do in terms of holding it in that way. And it was okay. It wasn't a Zelda game in the traditional sense. It was just a game with Link on it. It was called like Link's Crossbow Challenge or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Crossbow's something I'm pretty sure of at least. But yeah. Well, it was the first one, just Zelda, Legend of Zelda. So the first one that was back in, it was released originally. I think it was 84, 85, around about then. It was released originally, but I didn't play it till 2000 and whatever the DS came out. So it's all just one big blur now. So, but yeah, after Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, I did play Majora's Mask, which was okay. I liked it. It wasn't bad. I think it was pretty much Ocarina of Time again, I felt, and didn't really do a whole lot new apart from, of course, it didn't have the time traveling aspect to it, and so a few things there. But in terms of how you play the game and the style of game was pretty much the same. So it was an okay game. It certainly wasn't a rubbish game. But it didn't blow my mind as much because, at that point it's kind of like, well, I've seen this before, really. And then there was the GameCube's Wind Waker, which I really liked, actually. I actually quite enjoyed that game. A lot of people didn't like the cell shading design of it, but I actually I really liked it. I thought it was a really cool art style. My only issue with Wind Waker was that I felt the game was way too easy, because it just felt like I was walking through the whole game pretty much. It was a big game. It was quite a long game, but it was pretty easy. And then, of course, there was the Twilight Princess. Now, Twilight Princess, I believe that's the last major Zelda game so far. Oh, right, no, there was Skyward Sword. Okay, I'll rephrase that. It's the last major Zelda game that I've played. I forgot about Skyward Sword, but yeah, that came. Yeah. All right, we'll come to that in a little bit. Oh, well, definitely Ocarina of Time. No, without a doubt, Ocarina of Time is not just my favorite Zelda game, but it's my favorite game across any genre. It's just yes, you could break it down. It's technically not the best game ever, but I feel that at the time, it was made, and at the time, certainly I was playing it. I can't realistically point out where you can improve that game for late 80s, myself playing that game, late 90s, playing that game. Just the graphics were amazing at the time, the storyline was amazing, the gameplay was amazing, the whole 3D, the Z targeting was amazing. Everything about that game, I felt you could not realistically make that game better at that time. I mean, yeah, you can compare it to Twilight Princess, maybe even Skyward Sword, and say, okay, the graphics are better or whatever, but just the impact that game had. If you look at, because it's easy to say, for example, when people compared Batmans, they say that Christian Bale was the best Batman. I feel that's kind of a misnomer, because you have to look at not just, of course, he's going to be better in terms of acting, in terms of, or in this case, in terms of graphics, in terms of such and such, because you've had that time to improve. Ocarina of Time was late 90s. All the other games came, 5, 10, whatever years later. So you've had that time to improve upon. So of course, technically, there's been better games. But when you look at just impact in terms of how that game made people feel, how that game, changed people's perceptions on what a game can do, I don't think any other Zelda game, to my mind, granted I haven't played Skyward Sword, but to any other game, for my mind, has done that in that way. So yeah, Zelda Ocarina of Time, just absolutely brilliant. What they would do, well, I don't know what they would do, but I think what they should do, at least. Um, well, I believe they should do, and of course, it's just my amateur opinion on these things. But I think it's always going to come down to a combination of giving people what they want and being creative, and there's a balance to be struck in that, because of course it's a Zelda game. They got fans going back, some 30 or more years at this point. So there's an understanding of what a Zelda game should be and what Zelda fans expect from a Zelda game. That being said, if all you do is give people what they want, then you've just got a generic game, and it's like whatever. So there needs to, but then if you try to be too creative, then it becomes, well, is this even a Zelda game? So creativity is great if you just want to make something completely different. Fine, do that. But if we're just talking about Zelda games, there needs to be a balance between what the fans expect and being creative. So in terms of, how do you recreate that feeling that people had when they played the Ocarina of Time that just absolutely blew their minds? What can you do differently, whether it's in the controls, whether it's in the story, whether it's in a combination of all of that, and not just some gimmicky, wave your hands about, stupid, Wii remote? Because to be fair, the Wii remote was okay with what am I thinking of, the one that they did on the Wii, the crossover game. I had to mention it as well. Twilight Princess. I mean, the Wii remote works pretty well for Twilight Princess, but it certainly wasn't anything mind blowing. And by the time we got to the end of it, I didn't feel like I needed to play this again. Like when I played Ocarina of Time, straight away I was like, I have to play this again. I have to do this again. This was an amazing experience. And I think you can't get that when you're not really. When you're not being creative enough, at the same time not giving people what they want. So there's a balance between being creative in terms of, okay, how are we going to blow people's mind, not just in a superficial way, but in a meaningful way that complements the game, that improves the game, that by the way you're playing it, you're just thinking this could not be done any other way. What can you do that is that substantial to the game while saying, okay, well, this is a Zelda game, so it's going to have certain things to it, giving people giving the fans what they want in that respect, but also moving enough to blow people's mind, like what they did with Ocarina of Time, and not just recreating Ocarina of Time, which I feel they tries to do to some degree with some of the later games, especially with Twilight Princess. I feel they tried to recreate it a bit too much. Not of course in the story, but in terms of the game itself, just how the game was designed. It seemed like a recreation, and it was a good game, but it just wasn't. I've done this before. I've done this, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. What can you do now that's just going to blow my mind? And I think that's where they should be thinking, whether or not that's what they're doing, or whether they tried to do it, it just failed. Who knows? Yeah. Well, yeah, it should be. I think, well, just the games in general, whether it's a Zelda game or any games, if it's a game that has a long-standing franchise, there needs to be a balance between what the fans expect and how you're going to push things forward, but not just being creative in some kind of superficial way, but being creative in a meaningful way that means something to the game, to the players. And then just with games that don't have that franchise, it just needs to be, okay, what can we do that's gonna, blow people's minds in such a way that they just never thought this was even possible. The things that you never even thought of. I think it's always, what is that next step? And I mean, that's why, and I get that, as fans, we always got to say that we want this and we want that and we want this and we want that. And I understand that from the developer's point of view. They might be thinking, well, they don't want to just do what people are saying because that's too easy. There needs to be some creativity to it. Of course there does. But if it is a game that is built on this franchise, then it needs to be, okay, well, what makes it a Zelda game? What are the fundamental aspects of it that make it a Zelda game that you need to stick to? And then where can you create beyond that that's going to take people to that next level that they just wasn't thinking of, that they didn't think was even possible, that's never even crossed their mind? What's that next step within the confines of a Zelda game? Hmm. I was kind of, yeah. I mean, I guess I was a bit excited for Twilight Princess when that was coming out, so especially because I remember when it's coming out. It was originally supposed to be on the GameCube, but it was coming towards the end of the cycle, and they put it on the GameCube and the Wii. And I bought the Wii at the time, and so I like the idea. The whole motion control was new to me, and like I said, it did work quite well with the game. So I was quite excited for that. But in the end, it wasn't that it was disappointing. It was a good game, but in the end, it just wasn't that. I personally didn't feel it was that next level. I mean, the graphics were great, the story was fine. It didn't necessarily do anything wrong. It just just wasn't that. I guess you call that ick factor, that X factor, as that people say. It wasn't quite there. I felt. I only played it on the Wii. I only played it on the Wii. and I played Wind Waker. I believe that was the GameCube, if I remember, if I'm getting the order correctly. That was the GameCube. So that one I played on the GameCube just with a regular controller, and that was a nice game as well. I wouldn't say I was overly excited for it. Like I thought it was going to be amazing. I figured it was going to be a decent enough game. And at that point, Ocarina of Time period made me into a Zelda fan. So at that point, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy it anyway. So it was a nice game, and as I said, I enjoyed it to a degree, but I just felt it was too easy. That my only issue with the game. It felt like I weren't really challenged at any point throughout the game. It just I practically walked through it. What made it easy? I think what made it easy was that wasn't challenging. I mean, to be honest, it's quite a while back, so I don't remember too many specifics. But I don't think the boss battles were particularly difficult. I don't think I think the only thing that wasn't difficult, but the only thing that maybe I could say was trying was the fact that when you're on the boats, the boat that you had, it could take bloody ages to get to places sometimes, and that yeah, it was but yeah, that was that, and but yeah, it just wasn't. I felt the challenges didn't particularly. I mean, maybe one or two might have been a bit of a challenge, but generally speaking, I think the game just felt like I was walking through it and didn't really. I don't remember being stuck on anything for particularly long. And certainly, I mean, it's been a while now, so I'm sure I've forgotten more than I can even remember at the game at this point. But at the time set, I remember feeling like it was just too easy. It was just. It's a nice game. I like the cell. I know a lot of people didn't like the cell shading graphics. I remember that got a lot of heat at the time, but I like the cell shading graphics. I like the design of it. It was really cool. I felt that it suited the story that it was going for. It was just walking through the damn thing. That's all. Just too easy. If the game was a bit more challenging, I felt like it could have been maybe a bit more rewarding experience. Mm. Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me speculating a bit too much, but I guess because Ocarina of Time was so well received by a lot of people, by critics, by fans, and a lot of people, not just myself, will say it's their favorite game, and if not their favorite game, it's one of their favorite games, or just one of the best games that they played. And this is a game going back some more than 15 years now, and it did feel to me anyway that perhaps Nintendo just couldn't reach that glory again. Playing catch up to themselves, a shadow of their former selves, as they say, as far as the Zelda games go. And I guess it's just trying to get back to that, and being doing that creative thing, that next step in whether it's technology or gameplay. And I do feel they maybe they try to force things a little bit within the Wii and the Wii U, the whole controller things. I never bothered with the Wii U. It just never appealed to me. I don't feel the need of a massive tablet in my hand for a bloody game. It just feels so pointless. And the damn thing's pointless as well when you got games made for the Wii U that still use the GameCube controller. It's like, seriously, that you know what I mean? That right there tells me the Wii U controller is absolutely pointless. If you're making games for a current gen machine that uses a controller that's what 10, 15 years old, give or take, about 10 years old at the time. Come on, man. As I said, 2 generations ago. Not even the Wii had games like, I think Smash Bros in particular was making games with the GameCube controller. So it's like, seriously, what is the point of this massive tablet if you don't even have to use it? Yeah. I don't know what the tablet costs. I know the whole thing together is like 300 quid, which I guess is somewhere around $400-500 or so. Well, that's the last. Oh well, we paid more for stuff anyway. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what it actually costs in the United States, but in terms of the exchange rate, it'd be about 400. I mean, to be honest, I haven't checked the price for a while, so it's probably cheaper than £300. But at this point, you probably well. probably is. In fact, you know what? I got this up right now. Let me do a ting real quick. See how much it is. Wii U. See how much it actually is going for these days. All right, 8 gigabyte Wii U, £249 off. And actually, you can get a 32 gigabyte one for 249.46. So what is the point? 46p more, and you can get a 32 gigabyte one. But still, it's okay. So it's a little bit cheaper than 300, but that's still too expensive for me. I will not pay £250 for a Wii U at this point. So yeah, actually, it does come with Splatoon. So it comes with Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon. So it's not too bad a deal, I suppose. But still, that seems a bit of a stretch. But yeah, 250 rather. It costs. So that's maybe, I don't know, 300 quid, $350, I guess, something like that. Maybe $400 ish. Yeah, things are definitely a lot cheaper in the United States because you guys have a much lower VAT than we do. Like the tax that you pay on the goods is so much lower. We pay 20% VAT tax across the board. Well, not across the board. Some things are VAT exempt, but certainly with games and anything like that, electronics, VAT 20%. So there's that factor, plus a bunch of other taxes they include. I'm sure that means that pretty much everything's more expensive in the UK. It's just we get screwed. Trust me, we get screwed. Yeah, but yeah, I guess we get used to it after a while. So all right, been living there long enough. So in Wind Waker, remember it, well, not anything specific. I remember it being okay, I suppose. I don't remember it being particularly outstanding or anything terrible. I guess it was okay. Yeah, it was. I mean, nothing springs to mind specifically about it. Or is there something that you remembered about it? Possibly. Could be it. I mean, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Sorry, but I mean, overall, the game didn't. I guess it didn't leave a massive impression on me. So, yeah, there's a lot. I imagine. I guess I've forgotten about that game by now, including what the soul play was like. I'm sorry. Favorite moments. Well, I guess it's all going to be Ocarina of Time at this point, really. So, favorite moments I would say was definitely the last battle with Ganon. After you beat Ganondorf, and then you fight Ganon. That to me was just amazing. I loved the orchestra music that was playing. I loved how it was surrounded by fire, and just the way you had to kind of like roll out the way to I think it was like you had him in the back. And it's just the way it was done. It just seemed such a perfect end to the game. To everything that they were doing. It was just such a fitting way to conclude the story, and then you get a little help from Zelda as well. And it was just amazing. Just that after you go through all of that, to have it end that way was just I don't think you could end it in any better way. So that definitely me is just that favorite moment, just because it was so epic. It was such a epic ending to an epic game. I don't know about least favorite moments though. I mean. I guess stuff with, well, yeah, the fact that the Legends Wind Waker was a bit too easy, that was a bit disappointing. So yeah, but even that, I guess it's not really a major thing. It was just I would have preferred it to be a bit harder. Well, across any game or just Zelda? Well, definitely across for Zelda games. Across any game, my favorite final boss. I haven't really thought about it actually. Definitely up there. But would he be my favorite final boss? I guess he would be. I mean, I'm thinking of because a lot of games don't even have bosses these days, really. Um, I can remember like going back to like the Master System days where you had Alex Kidd in Wonderland, and I'd actually play Contra. I mean, I did a little bit, like not when it came out, but some years later. But I didn't play a lot of it. I played like a little bit. Didn't really get into it too much. Well, but yeah, the bosses on Alex Kidd in Wonderland were pretty cool. I mean, they were they were piss easy, but I think at the time, actually, not to be fair, they were piss easy because I played it so much, and because at the time it was literally the only game I had for a good long time. It was the only game I had was Alex Kidd in Wonderland, so I played it over and over and over again to a point where I just had it mastered. Just had everything mastered. Just that old paper scissors stone aspect of how to beat the bosses each and every time. But yeah, they were pretty cool. They were pretty cool too. But yeah, I think I'm going with Zelda. I think I might have to think about it a little bit more. But for now, yeah, Ganon in Ocarina of Time. Yeah, just the experiences of it, really. I think excuse me, the experience that you have at the time of playing a game absolutely is going to factor into that. So, yeah, that could have been it. Just because, as I said at the time, I was so blown away by the game that, yeah, everything just felt, perfect to me. Everything just felt like it came together. So, yeah, it absolutely could have factored into that. A Zelda rap. I don't know if I could do a Zelda rap. Let's see. It's like a freestyle a little bit. Um, Link is the gay. No, Link is the hero of the Zelda games. If you don't already know his name, Zelda is the princess, and she is cool. But I'm not too sure about this new Linkle. Actually, you know what? I'm not too sure about this Linkle actually, because I'm sure you've heard about Linkle. They call it the male, the female Link. I'm not too sure about it. 'Cause to be honest, I'll be honest. I have. There's not really a whole lot known about it. I think there's still a lot that people don't know. So you appeared in one of the Hyrule games, which I haven't played. I think Hyrule Warriors, which I haven't played. Um, but apparently they're going to fully flesh her out for the next Zelda game. That's the rumor, at least. So and that's what I'm hearing. That she could be a fully fleshed out character with her own backstory and everything else. And that's the rumor I'm hearing. And I'm like, it just seems like why would you do that? Because on one hand, it's like I mean, I get why they're doing it. They want to appeal to female gamers, but then it's like, well, there's a lot of female gamers that already play Zelda games. There's a lot of female gamers that already do it. So why would you do something so superficial and say, oh, we want to appeal to female gamers by making a female character? I mean, I think plenty of women who play games aren't that fickle that they only pick up a game because now Zelda's in a Link is in a dress. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Um, and I feel there's better ways you can be, say, politically correct than that. If that's what they really want to do, there's at least more creative ways they can do it. But as I said, it's all rumors right now, and perhaps what it turns out to be will be something that nobody's expected. So I guess we should really take a wait and see attitude with what this fully fledged Linkle character actually turns out to be. All right, so more of a sniper. Okay, so is she OP or okay? Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean, actually, let me ask this then. What was Hyrule as just a game? Like, how does she feel in Hyrule Warriors? Like, did that all fit in with the game itself, or did it just feel out of place? Okay, okay, yeah. Well, yeah. I suppose this is wait and see and see how it turns out. I mean, if they're going to go with this female Link, well, good luck to them. Hopefully, it's something more fleshed out. Of what? Sorry, more. What's the word I'm looking for now? More substantial than what the rumors might suggest it to be. Because if it is that superficial, then I don't think anybody's going to want to play it, let alone any girls. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Well, female, they are there. Female Link's been around in the cosplay world for a long time. I mean, not so much female Link, to be fair, but it's more just the idea of girls will dress up as Link. So yeah, it's not strictly speaking a new idea, but it's just maybe what they could do specifically with girl Link. Linky girl. Oh. uh, yeah, actually. So what is your favorite Zelda game then? Okay. Did you play Zelda from the beginning, from the 80s? What? Why you don't play certain games? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know about your situation, but for me, it was definitely just not having enough money to buy lots of games. Um, so that was my reality back then. And I remember I had a friend back in school who was fairly well off, certainly a bit more well off than we were, and he had loads of games, and he'd lend us games every now and then. Be like, yeah, you could borrow this, you could borrow that. And I don't know if you ever had any Zelda games. I'm not sure if that conversation ever came up. But yeah, quite a good few of the games I played, during say the 90s, especially, I got from this one guy because he just had so many games that he would lend out to people. Um, but for yeah, as myself, I remember like because we didn't get pocket money, we just got dinner money, and so we had to save our dinner money if we wanted to buy stuff. So we go weeks and weeks and weeks without eating anything at school, just to save enough money to buy games, and then when I finally buy a game, it's like, yeah, I've got to make this last, because that'd be all I had. Um, all right, so your parents would buy to shop the your parents would go to shop to buy it for you. Okay, okay. Well, yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe is your dad from like the Pong generation then, or no? I don't think that. Yeah, and I don't think my dad played any games, not any computer, certainly not any computer games anyway. He was never, he was yeah, just so alien to him. My mum played like some. I remember my mum was telling me when she was in school, she used to play like some of these playground games that were pretty cool. Which was showing us up with stones and stuff, but she never got into computer games either. But now, like when we were younger, when we were kids, she's all like like computer games and also waste of time and all that kind of stuff. But nowadays, like she's always on her phone playing like Angry Birds and Candy Crush and so she's in a later year she's kind of turned into a bit of a hardcore gamer herself. So I guess it gets to everybody eventually. Hmm. Actually, speaking of phones, what do you think of like Nintendo moving into the mobile phone realm and potentials for Zelda games or Zelda spin-offs in that? Mm-hmm. Um, I don't know if a mobile phone would be a good move for Nintendo actually because they've always been very game centric. Well, not always to be fair. They have ventured outside games on a few occasions in their history, but for the most part, they've been pretty game centric. And a mobile phone is pretty much of a stretch outside. I mean, sure you can play games on your mobile phone, but that's not strictly speaking its main function. Is to be a phone, and the games are not. Or I guess depending on your usage, but they're at least secondary. So I'm not sure if a mobile phone would be a good move for them. I mean, I think it's an interesting move moving into the smartphone realm for them, but I'm not overly convinced that they're going to. Like, I think some people are expecting, you know, a Mario game, Zelda game, or whatever, Metroid and things like that. I'm not convinced that's what they're going to do. I'm guessing what is more likely to be something like companions. You know what I mean? Like not quite games, but just stuff where, like, imagine like a Pokedex. Like I think they like to do things like that. Like apps that assist a game, but they're not necessarily going to be games themselves. That's my guess. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Of course, I have no idea what they're planning, but I just don't get it. I just get the feeling that whatever they do, it's not going to be like these fully fledged mobile games that they're not going to be competing with Angry Birds or the popular mobile games. What you got like Candy Crush and so on. Age of well, not Age of Empires. What am I thinking of? Yeah, that Empire Clash. Yeah. Clash of Titans, I think, or Clash of Clans, Clash of some, yeah, all those games, it's not going to be beaten with any of those. That's what I think anyway. I've no insider knowledge. It's just what I'm guessing that they're going to have some kind of. It's going to be a bunch of apps that just assist their main games. Because at the end of the day, you got to think about it. Like if they start putting these fully fledged games on the mobile phone, on the smartphones, that are competing with the likes of Angry Birds and so on. I mean, sure, they can make money from it, especially if they have the microtransactions in there and all the ads and things. They can make money from it. They can make a lot of money from it, but it could it could have the potential to knock off the 3DS market. Well, not entirely, of course, because I think 3DS market is pretty, for the most part, different from the mobile gaming market anyway. But certainly, it could have the potential to cut into it in a significant manner. Maybe not cut it completely, but certainly cut into it. I mean, it depends, I guess, on why on the type of person plays it. But I think that's what they're thinking. That if they do a fully fledged game, how can this affect the 3DS sales? How can it affect what we do with 3DS? And that's why I'm a bit skeptical about them doing a fully fledged game. But we'll see. We'll see. What's up? Uh, well, let's see. Cost of phones. Phones. Phones are interesting because I can remember when mobile phones would be like £4,000. You know, they were ridiculously expensive, and yeah, no, it's just because the rich people had them, that's for sure. But there was more just because they were still fairly new at the time, and so they were quite expensive to produce and sell. So yeah, they would be like £3,000, £4,000, and they were called car phones because they literally use a car battery, and they're quite massive. But this is going back a while. So mobile phones went from being really expensive to maybe like the late 90s, early 2000s, where they started to really, really come down in price and become much more accessible to just say the average person. So they went from really expensive to really cheap, and that seems like the average phone, especially smartphones, they tend to go up. Like uh, phones are going. Buying a phone would be like £300, £400. I think iPhones, if you were to buy them, they're like maybe £800, £900 sometimes. So it is interesting how that has changed. That was when I started off really expensive, went down, and it seems to be going up more and more expensive just for different reasons. And as far as Nintendo doing a mobile phone, I mean, clearly I think they do have the know-how to do it, and if they don't, they can employ it. It's not a difficult thing for them to do. I don't think it's just. I don't know. Would you want a mobile phone with Nintendo on it? Is that because they'd probably want to do some kind of crazy Wii stuff like the Wii phone, where I don't know, you have to like wave your hands yeah, yeah, you have to wave your hands in front of the screen to press the buttons on it. Like you can't just press the buttons on a pad. You got to wave up and down or some stupid nonsense. It's like I don't know what they'll do with a phone, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would be a good move for them. I guess you don't know until they actually do it. But it is a bit like. But then again, when Sony decided they're going to move into the video game market, so I think a lot of people, including myself, were like, "Sony doing video games? That's a stupid idea. They make TVs, they make VCRs, you know." But then, well, they blew up. You know, they did really well. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's time Nintendo tried their hand in a different form of electronics. So could be. Oh, well, it's possible. I mean, especially with Nintendo planning on moving into the mobile market, so it's certainly possible that they might consider, putting some of the older games on the iPhone or Android or whatever. And certainly, and I think it won't be much for a phone to run those games. They can run much more powerful games than that. So it wouldn't be a question of is it powerful enough. I mean, they could easily do it. Um, so it's certainly possible. Would they do it though? I mean, I guess with older games, it's not as big a risk to their business as newer games would be, because at this point, yeah, you've probably either already played Ocarina of Time or you don't particularly care for it. You've probably already played the first Zelda game or you don't particularly care for it. So having that nostalgia effect on the iPhone, it could actually work in their favor, especially if they don't bitch out the price. Like sometimes when they start doing the eShop, and a lot of the games were a lot of these old games from like 10, 15, 20 years ago, they were selling for like really expensive. So as long as they don't do anything stupid like that, then it could work in their favor having these older games on the iPhone. I mean, if you look what happened with GTA, when they used to Rockstar, when they put some of the older GTA games on iPhone, and they were smart with the pricing. They were only like I think like £2 or something like that, £1 something or £2. They're really cheap. So yeah, it did well. I think as long as they don't try to be like, oh, we're Nintendo, people pay for the nose to have our 30-year-old games, because no, it won't. So as long as they're not stupid with the price, and it could work with them. It could work. Yeah. Well, if you're buying a Nintendo phone, it's not. I mean, yes, if you're looking at okay, a Nintendo phone, okay, you're gonna have Nintendo games there. Given that's pretty much a given in Nintendo centric apps. That pretty much is a given. But what else can a Nintendo phone do? Because App Store is huge, Android is huge. So is it going to run on? It's not going to run on iOS. I mean, that much we can pretty much be sure on. So it's either going to run on Androids, Windows, or they're going to or maybe some other third party OS, or they're going to do something, create their own OS. The third party, say anything other than Android and Windows, then you kind of, I mean, even Windows really. So let's be fair, anything other than Android, then you got a risk of just not having that many apps available for it. Windows is okay. Windows phones are okay. They're kind of coming up a little bit more now, but it's still quite low as far as apps concerned. Any other third party, if they even exist, they can pretty much guarantee that they're not going to have anything on them. And then if Nintendo decides to do their own operating system, then yeah, it's like, okay, well, what again, back to the whole third party thing about how can you get third party apps now. Nintendo with third parties, as they've proven, they don't really have a particularly good relationship. So yeah, you could buy a Nintendo phone and it could potentially be the absolute best phone in the world, but then what can you do with it outside of Nintendo stuff? The Vita's kind of, I don't know what's happening with the Vita at this point. Actually, I think Sony might have forgotten about the Vita, so they might just well be like, oh, well, Vita. What? Yeah, and I think the Vita actually means life. It's Latin for life, and it just has absolutely no life at all right now. It's just gone. And I like my Vita. I do. I think it's a great machine. It's an absolutely fantastic portable machine, but they're so lacking on games right now. It's just it's brutal. It's like I could go months and months and months without playing it sometime because what am I going to play with it? But it's just I've got some old games I can dig out, but I'm not going to keep going back to play older games. It's like I'm done with these, man. The only times I play it now is if I ever get the bus, and then if I get the bus anywhere, because I cycle most places, I rarely get the bus anymore. And when I do get a bus, it's like I have to remember to charge it beforehand because the battery's died out so much that you can't just pick up and go. I've got to make sure the battery's charged the night before. So I have to plan to play it on the bus. That's how bad it is. It's just it's pretty bad with the Vita right now. It's just it's such a shame. It's a great machine, but yeah. Oh well. If they ever released a Mario game on the iPhone. Um, it's not a rumor I've heard, not specifically. I mean, apart from Nintendo planning on going into the mobile market, I haven't heard of any games they plan on doing. I'd imagine they'll do something with the Mario brand because why not? It's their biggest, easily their biggest brand. It's their mascot. So I just, but all right, yeah, the company that's actually doing this stuff for them, yeah. Not particularly, no, no, no. A little bit. I mean, I mean, as far as Final Fantasy games go, I've only actually played 10 in its entirety. Every other Final Fantasy game I played little bits of, I think it was Final Fantasy 13 or 14, and actually no, it was 12. I think I don't remember anymore. But I played a little bit of that. I played quite a bit of 7, but I never actually completed it. And then, but yeah, 10 is the only one I've actually played beginning to end, and that's another great game as well. Just another fantastic game. Not quite up there with Zelda Ocarina of Time, but still a pretty damn good game, as I'd say. No, no, no. I'm not anti anything, and if it's a good game, it's a good game. I just haven't really played much of Final Fantasy. truth is, a lot of them just didn't really appeal to me that much. And the only reason why I played 7 is because my little brother had it, and he played it when he had it for like back right about when it came out, and it was just, so it was always in the house for a while. I never played it because it just didn't appeal to me. The only reason why I played it because I've got around to play. I played 10. I really like 10 a lot. So I thought, okay, let me try this Final Fantasy 7. I've heard it's good, and I like 10, so maybe I like this. And I didn't not to like 7. It was a good game. I just couldn't be bothered with it after a while. I got up to disc 2, and I got to some area, some cave or something, and then I just couldn't be bothered after that, really. All right, Zelda today. uh, let's see. No, I think we pretty much covered everything. Actually, what do you No, we talked about your favorite Zelda game. When you Yeah, so we did that already. Um, yeah, I guess we've kind of covered everything for now, at least anyway. Actually, I've got a question for you. What do you think of the rumored Zelda Wii U? Do you think that's ever going to happen, or do you feel like they're going to just leave it to the NX at this point? I don't think so. At least not that I know of, anyway. But there's supposed to be this game coming out for the Wii U. The Zelda game, this massive Zelda game. It's just called Zelda Wii U at the moment. I don't think it has a title. But now with the NX rumored and seemingly very likely now at this point to be coming out this year, there doesn't seem to be much point in putting a Zelda game on the Wii U, because if you're gonna put a Zelda game on the Wii U, then who's going to buy an NX? But then if you put it on an NX, then you're going to have a whole bunch of pissed off people who bought the Wii U, thinking there's going to be the Zelda Wii U game coming for it. Which, by the way, just as a side note, you should never buy a console on a promise of a game that wait till the game is released, then buy the console. Don't buy the console because you think a game is going to come out. Wait for the game to be released, then buy the console and that game. But yeah, a lot of people bought the Wii U because they thought the Zelda game was going to come for it, and it looks like that may not happen. And they might do something like what they did with Twilight Princess, yeah, where they released it on the GameCube and the Wii. They might do something like that, but depending on what they plan on doing in the game, it depends on how good an idea that is. Because I'd assume whatever the NX turns out to be, in the end, they're probably going to get rid of that tablet design. So if the Zelda game was designed with the tablet in mind, then could that be portable over to whatever types of controls the NX ends up using? With all these rumors about screens on the controller and whatnots and things. So how translatable would it be to be able to just make the controls suitable for that? I mean, I'd imagine it's not impossible, but would it work in any real way? Yeah, exactly. So it seems to me that if they are definitely it's still technically a rumor about Wii U coming out this year. It just seems like it's a likely rumor. So if they are going to be releasing the NX this year, I would say the best thing for them to do is forget the Wii U and just release Zelda on the NX and make the controls as suitable for the NX as they possibly can. That would be my thing, because the Wii U was a disaster. What I mean. No matter how you look at it, the Wii U was a disaster. And I think at this point they need to just. It looks like they're going to just abandon shit. I mean, I still think, in all honesty, I think the best thing for them to do is to wait off on the NX, let the Wii U die out as much as possible, and then release the NX in maybe 2-3 years, and then have it competing with the next, Xbox and the next PlayStation. Because right now they're going to be competing with PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and those are about possibly like halfway through their life cycles, maybe a little bit more than halfway through their life cycles at this point now. So do you really want to be competing with consoles that are, you know, on their way out as well? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think at this point they need to wait a few years and let the Wii U suffer their losses. It is what it is. It was a disaster. It sucks, but take the loss and then come back in a few years with the NX, absolutely blow everybody's minds with the power of it, with the design of it, with the creativity of it, with the forward thinking of it, all that stuff, that all the things that fans want, plus everything that fans, plus a whole bunch of things that fans didn't expect. Have the, you know, use the time to make the Wii game for the NX to so it controls in that as well as possible. So people would be thinking, man, I just can't imagine this game in any other way. That's what I think they really should be doing. But it doesn't look like they're going to be doing that. It looks like they are going to be releasing the NX this year. And if they are going to be doing it this year, then, well, just cut off the Wii U altogether, I think. Just cut it off and just release Zelda on the NX and just do what you can and hope for the best. So, yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, right, yeah. And just have it on the NX and just like blow everybody out of the water. You know what I mean? Just have this powerful machine, this creative machine. Yeah, just take my money now. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. That's what I think they should do. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but that's what I think they should do. Yeah, yeah. And they apparently they're going to be talking more about it this year, in the coming months. We should know. There should. Apparently, I've read somewhere that there should be a major announcement at June, which I guess is going to be E3. It just said June. It didn't specifically say E3, but that June is E3 time. So we should, at the very least, know something by then as to. But I don't know. It just seems such a rush. Like if you're, because they pretty much announced it. I mean, I think rumors start circulating in a big way about middle of last year, and then it was like, yeah, we're going to release it in 2016. That became another rumor a bit later on, and that's how we're supposed to know more about June, and potentially it's going to be released by the end of this year, by Christmas 2016. And it just seems like that's such a rush. I mean, how long? Because I yeah, like I would assume that on some level they'll start planning the next console as soon as the Wii U was released. Because any company, as soon as you release one machine, pretty much right away, within a fairly short period of time, you take a little break, but you come back a short while later and you start thinking, okay, what is the next step? And I can understand that, like, you already need to start thinking fairly early on about the things that you want to do next. But in terms of actually developing it, because the ideas they have at the beginning are going to be fairly premature. You know what I mean? So you're going to have, like, what are they literally just going to go off on these, because on these first few ideas they have, because that's what it seems like they're potentially doing if they're releasing it this year. The Wii U came out, what, 2-3 years ago, I think, something like that. And that's right. You know what I mean? It's exactly. It's like, it's not that long ago. It's quite as a young system. So if they're releasing a Wii U, an NX this year, that means they would have had to have it thought of, designed, and gone into production by pretty much now, or within a few months from now. If they haven't even started production yet, then it might have a troubled launch. So it seems like I would much rather they stretch out the generation as much as possible because there's rumors of a PS4 coming out quite soon as well, which I think is too early for a new PS4. Potentially another Xbox Two as well in the next few years. Again, I think that's too early. I think, in fact, to be honest, I felt like the previous generation ended a bit too early as well. And the problem is when you have, as you say, games can take a while to produce, especially when you're looking at what can you do with the current systems. Um, I think they need to give these things time, and the PlayStation 4 is doing really well right now. There's no rush on the next console. They just need to like take their time. They should be thinking about the next console, absolutely, but they don't need to rush a next console. They just need to take the time, think about what they want to do, come out in a few years, well, more than a few years rather, and then blow people's minds with the next PlayStation. But it just seems like nobody wants to do it now. Everybody wants to move forward. We want to take advantage of because 4K resolutions and so on. And it's like, okay, granted, I get why you want to take advantage of that, but that's still going to be around in a few more years. You know what I mean? There's no rush for 4K. I feel it's like, come on, you don't need to rush a console just for the sake of 4K. And then what? What else do you have? 4K resolution. How many people even have 4K TVs? You know what I mean? So it's like, what is the point of rushing it just for the sake of capitalizing on 4K? 4K will still be around in 5 years, 6 years. And but they may even have something better than 4K at that point, which you could capitalize on. So it's like there's no need to rush for this one piece of technology. But it just seems everybody wants to rush. I get why Nintendo wants to rush because their Wii U was a disaster. Even though I still feel they need to wait a little bit longer, I understand why they want to rush. But everybody else, there's no need for PlayStation to rush. There's no need for Xbox to rush. Wii U, I get why they want to rush. It's a bit more of a need for them to do it. I still think they should wait, but there's a little bit more justifiable at least. The Xbox, sorry? The Xbox, yeah. So what do you mean? Oh, right, right. It turns it right, right, right. It's not doing as badly as the Wii. I mean, it's not as doing as well as the PlayStation 4. But to my knowledge, it's not doing as badly as the Wii. So it's certainly not a disaster that the Wii U was. I mean, granted, yeah, the Wii U had some spikes with Mario Maker and Splatoon, but overall, it was pretty lacking. I think Xbox has done at least quite a bit better than that. But yeah, they're playing catch up to everybody's playing catch up to PlayStation right now. Mm, yeah, and they got PlayStation VR. We should know more about that soon. I don't know when it's being released, but you should know more about that soon. And that looks pretty awesome. Hopefully, it's not as expensive as the Oculus Rift, but it looks pretty cool. I should hope so because I mean, to be fair, actually, PlayStation have a good. I mean, a lot of their peripherals tend to be cross-platform, like their headsets work cross-platform. So I think there's no reason why they shouldn't make this cross-platform into the next generation because I personally wouldn't want to spend. I mean, I could probably justify, say around 250, 300 if it's going to be compatible with, say, PlayStation 5 and even potentially PlayStation 6. I could justify 300 in that case. But if it's going to be compatible only with a PlayStation 4 and they want, say, 400 quid for it, no way, absolutely not. It needs to be no more than 150. I'd say at that point, that'd be my max. If it's going to be compatible only with a PlayStation 4. And even then, there'd have to be some killer games for me to want to spend that money on it because I wouldn't want to buy it and just play some shitty games on just because it's in VR. You know what I mean? It needs to have some substantial games that are going to make me think, like, you know what I mean? It's going to have like games that make me feel like I felt when I played Zelda the Ocarina of Time. If it's going to be like that. But yeah, that's I guess that all waits to be seen. PlayStation 2 emulation. Possibly. I mean, they've well, it's not really clear what they're doing with that because they've talked about backwards compatibility that they want to do, but I don't know if they'd actually do it. Yeah, and it just seems like, well, yeah. I mean, they talk about, oh, it's difficult, but I'm sure they can do it. I'm pretty sure they can do it. It's just whether they will do it or not. I'm maybe a little bit skeptical that whether they'd actually do it or not. But well, yeah, yeah. Companies, man, they just make these decisions that who knows what they're thinking. Exactly, you know, it's just these small people. They're these big giants looking over the townsfolk, and they're just these small poor villagers that, oh, please Sony, please Nintendo, please Microsoft, you know, yeah, don't don't screw us in the arse too much, please. Uh. Sorry, my bad. Uh, uh, I'll try and I'll try and tone it down. Yeah, yeah. Open world games. Well, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, obviously. What else is there? I guess Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Well, Grand Theft Auto 3 as was, I thought was absolutely brilliant, and then Grand Theft Auto Vice City just for me took it to the next level. Um, what else? The Batman Arkham games have been pretty good. Even Arkham Knight, I really enjoyed the story campaign in that, although the rest of the game was a bit disappointing. And that was quite. Actually, no, to be fair, that first Arkham Asylum wasn't really that open. It was kind of semi-open. Arkham City though was a little bit more open, and then Arkham Knight, of course, was a bit more. Had a much more big of the city of Gotham. Other open world games, I guess a few that I play come to mind, but none of them really stand out as being great. So yeah, I'll leave it as that. Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, and then the Arkham games. How about yourself? Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, well, I haven't played, but yeah, I know of it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They had a lot of secrets in. Well, they had a lot of secrets in pretty much every Zelda game, but things with Jorah's Mask had many, many, many secrets. Um, Not sure if anybody's discovered them all. I know my little brother was trying to get them all at one time. He gave up. He got quite a lot of them, to be fair, but he gave up after a little while. But yeah, there's many, many, many secret masks as well in that game. On so which game? Oh right, 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 right. Okay, yeah. All right, cool. They use a lot of glitches on Mario Kart as well that some people used to exploit, where they'll be doing laps that would normally take, say, 2, 3 minutes to, say about 2 minutes to get around, would be say an average lap time, even if you're going fast, say about 2 minutes. But there were like people doing these laps in, like 3 seconds. You know what I mean? Because they exploit some glitch somewhere, and I need to find out how some of these places, some of these glitches, because my brothers and I do still play Mario Kart every now and then. So be good to exploit some of these glitches and just like beat everybody. Like we'd be like, "Hey!" Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah. You know what? Yeah. When I say Mario Kart, I actually mean Mario Kart 64. No, there's. I should be more specific. There's lots of Mario Kart games, but yes, no, I meant Mario Kart 64 specifically. There are a lot of glitches in there. But yeah, another one in Wario Stadium. There's a couple of Wario Stadium that I know about, and there's one on Mario's Raceway that I know of that I just haven't been able to do because it's a bit tricky to pull off. I need to just try. Need to look up how it's done and maybe practice that one a little bit. But yeah, the one in Wario Stadium, I can usually get maybe about I say about half the time, like say about 5 times out of 10, I can get that one. But they know about it as well, so they're we're all just like trying to jump over the wall when we start the race. We just like move to the side and trying to jump over the wall. But yeah, that's yeah, that one. Yeah. There's one so there's a few actually on Rainbow Roads as well. I can't remember how they go, but something like trying to get over the wall and jump, landing on the track below you to complete the lap. But I can't remember where it was or how to do it. But it's something like, so one of the corners where you just flip over the wall and you land on the track below you. Or something on those lines anyway. I might be wrong. It's been a while since I looked at it. And we never played Rainbow Road anyway because yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, if you miss, then yeah, you're behind. Yeah. When you get it, it's great, but when you miss, it's like, yeah, you just oh well, maybe. No, that would take a lot of practice to get it. So most of the time, it'd take a few tries, a few practice runs. Might want to get on the time trials and just practice it over and over again. Um, I didn't even know there was a Zelda DLC for Mario Kart. Okay, well that's pretty cool. I mean, why not? I guess. I mean, makes sense, really. I'd say because they're already doing. They with Smash Brothers. They have a lot of Nintendo characters in there, and sometimes they have characters from other uh, uh, franchises as well. So yeah, it makes sense to me to have other Nintendo characters in Mario Kart. It just I don't honestly, I'm not sure why they hadn't done it before, really. So if they're only doing it now, it just seems like why that's a no brainer. You know what I mean? It's like why not? No, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Makes more sense. Like unlock Zelda, unlock Link, unlock Metroid. Unlock. Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. And unlocks are good because it encourages people to play the game more. We do like downloadable content. It's like, okay, cool, you can make a bit of money that way if people buy it. But then, you know, I think as a fan, you want reason to play the game more. You want a reason to get a certain time on a lap or to get a certain time on a track. That if you get this particular time or vastly unlock this character, or if you get gold stars on such and such a track, you unlock such and such a character. You want reasons like that to play the game. And that's something actually I think Nintendo just in general are lacking. Like, Microsoft do the achievements, Sony do the trophies. Nintendo don't have a system like that, which I feel like they really, really should, because I mean it is shallow, granted, and it's not necessarily the most meaningful thing that you unlocked a trophy, but it's something that as a gamer it gives you a reason to go back and play the game and try out different things that you might not have thought of, or to go that little bit faster, to to play the game on harder difficulties, to what I mean. It just gives you that little extra incentive to do more with the game, and especially with games like Zelda, where there's so much you can do with it anyway. So encourage more people to get that much more out of the game and have like the reserved like high trophies for those who really really put the efforts in. I think that's something Nintendo can really really thrive on if they went that route. But that's actually going talking about the future of Zelda. That's another thing I think they should do. Just have like some kind of trophy systems in their games, but definitely have that in Zelda games, and have like the highest trophy is when you absolutely unlock and find absolutely everything in a Zelda game, and I feel like reserved for the real hardest of hardcore Zelda players, to get that, I don't know, platinum trophy or whatever they want to call it. You know what I mean? That's something I think that can elevate Nintendo and Zelda as well. Right. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they've had some. I guess some games have had things like that, but it's never been something like across the board, like the way it's done with Sony. It's like per game. Like individual games might have, you get certain rewards, but it needs to be something that goes across the board. I feel, because then it's like then you got like a profile that says this is this user, this person has unlocked this trophy, and you can see and maybe how many other people have unlocked that trophy and how rare it is, or how many people, what I mean, things like that. It needs to be across the board. You know, I feel it's not that it's pointless when it's in game. Of course, you still have incentive to play the game, but when it's across the board, you can see, okay, cool, this is what it means to beat this game in this level. Because you might get, say, a platinum trophy in one game and think, cool, yeah, I've got a platinum trophy, and that's great if you got it. But then we can see, like, okay, how not many other people have got this platinum in this game. Then it means that little bit more. You know what I mean? Then it means that's that little bit more when you know that you're one of very few people who have done it. But when it's like you don't know, then it's like, cool, you've got it. But then what does that mean, really? I mean, like I said, it doesn't mean much anyway, but it means it has a little bit more meaning when you know how many other people have done it. Just that tiny little bit more. It's still shallow, I know, but it's something. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. 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 No, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, it just adds like a little bit more to what you're doing already. Okay. Hello. Okay. I thought it cut off for a moment. Uh, Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be everything I can think of, at least as far as Zelda. I think we kind of drifted off, away from Zelda a little bit a few times as well. But yeah, well, I think we've covered pretty much everything I could think of is Zelda related. Um, so yeah. Oh well, thank you for having me, and appreciate the invitation to come on and talk a little bit about Zelda, about Ocarina of Time. You know, my favorite game of all time. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and yeah, be sure to for those listening in to be sure to check out my channel. Um, Bandit Haze, Bandit Space Haze. There'll be a link in the description, I'm sure. And but yeah, be sure to check that out. See what I'm doing over there. Um, and yeah, it's thank you to Art House Hanami for having me on. All right, awesome, awesome. Yeah, put a few links in there. If anybody into spoken word as well, then yeah, definitely check out some of my SoundCloud stuff. Yeah, yeah. So the BH Uncivilized is if you search BH the Uncivilized, that would come up as my spoken word channel. I haven't updated that for a little while. I've updated for a little while, to be fair, but I haven't abandoned spoken word. It's just been a little bit sidetracked. But yeah, that's there. I've got my spoken word on there. Bandit Haze, movies, video games I do, and review other things every now and then. BH plays piano. I'm learning to play piano, so I'm documenting my progress there. So if you want to check that out for those who who wanna watch me mess up on the piano a little bit, BH yeah BH plays Vidya games. I deliberately spelt incorrectly. Vidya for Vidya, and then Gamez games. But yeah, that's gameplay. So I upload gameplays for my live streams usually. I do a few pre-recorded ones as well, but it's mostly stuff from my live streams. Oh, speaking of live streams, yeah, I do live stream as well. So yeah, check me out on Twitch for that. I live stream a little bit. On, live stream on Twitch and YouTube. So yeah, check me out there for those schedules and stuff. Oh yeah, I've got a Facebook. I, I've got a bunch of stuff. I forget what I have sometimes. I've got a Facebook. It's facebook.com / BH Uncivilized. Or if you just search Bandit Haze, it will come up on Facebook. Twitter, Bandit Haze. Instagram, Bandit Haze. I'm on Google Plus as well. So Bandit Haze. There. I think that's pretty much it. I think I've probably forgotten something, but yeah, but yeah. There's a few. If you search Bandit Haze, all my stuff will come up. I'm sure if you search Bandit Haze on Google, then my stuff will come up. Yeah. Hopefully, nothing too embarrassing from my past comes up as well. So, but yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty much all over the place. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, yeah, you name it, I'm around. Well, maybe not everything. I don't have a Tumblr. I did have a Tumblr at one time, but then I got rid of it because I just couldn't be bothered with it anymore. It just bored me, so I deleted it. So, yeah, I don't have a Tumblr at least. I have a Reddit, but I hardly ever go on Reddit, but I'm there too. So yeah, most things. I have most things, I guess. Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. So a lot. So there's so oversaturated market as it is. So well, if Nintendo, well, if they think they could do it, then well, good luck to them. All right, this is Bandit Hayes signing out. Peace.